Marwa, Osman, thank you very much for being on Syriana Analysis. You are now in Beirut, and as we can see in the past few days, there is lots of developments happening in Lebanon and also in the maritime conflict, if we can call it that way, with Israel, the Zionist state. And is this conflict between Lebanon and Israel right now? It's a maritime issue, or also it's beyond the maritime issue, which includes gas and other energy resources? Because as I can see, Israel, it seems that trying to extract gas now from the Mediterranean.
Well, basically, first of all, thank you, Kevo, for having me on Syriana Analysis, and thank you for everything that you do to bring out, especially the news from West Asia. What's going on between Lebanon and occupied Palestine is that for over almost 2 to 3 years now, Lebanon has been in a direct conflict about maritime border. It's a maritime border dispute with the Zionist occupation due to certain areas in the Mediterranean where Israel is seeking to start excavating for gas and oil. But those areas, to begin with, by saying Zionist Israel as an occupation, that it's not even its own gas to take, it's the Palestinian gas, but this time it went closer to the Lebanese maritime border and to different lines that are not set yet due to many reasons. Many people would ask, why isn't the line set in the Mediterranean between these two states to begin with? We tell them that you haven't read history, you don't know the history of this area, you don't know that this was occupied, you don't know that this was broken down by Sykes-Picot in the early 19th century, and then later on when the Zionist occupation came, taking after the British occupation. So it's a big, complicated issue that you have to read about in history. But mainly what happened is that with the now current land border that Lebanon has, according to that land border that is actually approved by the United Nations because it's set as the legal land of Lebanon. According to that area, you go and see where the maritime border of your country is. And according to this area, we have a small island in the Mediterranean at the very southern part of Lebanon, where there you can draw a line called line 29 that passes through, because it was beginning, there are several lines. There's a line 23 and a line 29 and several more lines that are being put there either by the mediators, by Israel, or by the international community. But to talk about two specific lines, line 23 and line 29. Basically, Lebanon was supposed to end off at the maritime border at line 23 in the Mediterranean. But according to our land border, we do have an island that would allow us to push further the line, and this is international law, this is not me talking. We have a small island in the area of Karish, and in that island pushes the line back and allows us to extract oil and gas that's found in the Mediterranean in that specific spot, where Israel now has signed a deal with a British-Greek company that brought in Energean FSPO and placed it actually there to rig a gas in the Mediterranean to basically just steal Lebanese gas from there. And what's the big issue here? Why is it now a big issue? Because the FSPO landed or basically anchored itself on Monday, I suppose, or actually on Saturday, but on Monday today, it was supposed to start exploring. And what makes it a bit risky is that according to international law, an oil field, even if it's shared, or a gas field, if it's a shared gas field, if it's in a shared spot, if one state starts sucking that oil or gas, and the other state doesn't, after a certain amount of time and a certain amount of gas that's being sucked out, this field becomes to the state that is actually sucking it, even if it resides in the area for another state. So, and you know, international law, it's very wide. It can be perceived in many directions, but Lebanon is fixated on this problem because if this happens, it means this kind of piracy becomes legalized.
Yeah, and
so that's why we're concerned about that, and that's why there's a big problem. And at the same time, you see that the negotiator, the mediator, if you will. It's an American, something that's funny.
Is it true that the mediator was also serving in the Israeli army?
Well, yes, the mediator had a history in he's a dual citizen, and I don't know. I mean, that was a big deal when his name was announced. We had a massive social media campaign against him, and we tried to push the Lebanese government to not allow it. But in the Lebanese government, you have people who are basically puppets in the hands of the Americans, and they would allow anything that comes from within the Aukar embassy in Lebanon, which is the U.S. embassy, and as people might not know, Hezbollah does not have weight. The resistance, the pro-resistance axis does not have real weight in the governments in Lebanon. Why? Because we don't push for it, because we don't want. And what happens is that the resistance would say, I don't want to stall the formation of a government because of certain small tactical issues. Let them have whatever they want. Let them have the cabinet, or let them have certain ministries that they would desire. And we're not going to have a fight over it. And that's what happens when you don't fight over certain ministries. This is what happens. You get assigned so-called negotiators that are not unbiased, that are actually biased towards one side against the other. And the issue here is that the American mediator just left and never picked up the file again. And now the Lebanese government, especially the Lebanese president, is pushing for that mediator to come back and to continue where they stopped, and saying that we will not accept this kind of theft that's going on. And I think that this is the last diplomatic nail in the coffin of the negotiations, because if things turn left, I think that the resistance will have the final answer.
Then so we have here the government, okay, the Lebanese government, that in my opinion, even if they are pro-American, they should have an interest at least to extract that oil and gas for their, let's say, for their personal interest, and also for the interest of their own people, right, in Lebanon. So what is the plan of the government here? And in parallel, you mentioned Hezbollah. Does Hezbollah has like a different plan from the government, or are they trying to?
Hezbollah is waiting to see. No, Hezbollah is basically waiting to see where the government agrees, on which line it agrees. If they say we agree that the line 29 is a Lebanese line, the resistance will act upon that. If they say that we agree that the line 23rd line is actually the Lebanese line, then the resistance will act upon that. Why? Because they don't want to act in a way that would shows that the resistance is actually stepping ahead of the government, or taking the decision on behalf of the government. At the end of the day, they say that we protect what is Lebanese. So the resistance is asking the government to become faster, pick up things, and start talking with the negotiators to see where this heads, in order to at least put a certain line so the resistance can know where it's defending. Because at the same time, you need to understand that the resistance is part of the Lebanese constitution. It's part of the ministerial draft that will be put. So the government, when the resistance acts, it's under the agreement and the approval of the government. So if the resistance goes and does something that's beyond what the government has announced as a Lebanese maritime border, then it will be actually acting against Lebanese law. So that it's very specific, and you know how specific the resistance works, because it's under fire from every corner. But the issue that's scaring me a bit here, or that's actually a bit of a concern for the Lebanese public, is that these oil and gas fields, Kevork, they amass up to $500 billion in revenue. And you know that Lebanon has $130 billion debt, national debt. And we have a broken economy. We have the port of Beirut, to add insult to the injury, explosion. We have the financial crisis where banks have literally stolen the saving accounts of the pensioners and of the middle class. So it's a catastrophe, and we need that money. We need that to rebuild our economy. So if it starts getting stolen, what's left that would bring us back becomes pirated by the Zionist entity, then we have nothing left.
Marwa, I have two questions here. Both are not really correlated, but The first thing you mentioned, Hezbollah wants to defend. When we say wants to defend, like when the Lebanese government decides that this maritime line belongs to Lebanon, is Hezbollah suggesting that they want to go with military force to defend that area if the government is not ready for it?
Well, let's begin by saying that we do have a Lebanese army, but unfortunately, the Lebanese army does not have the capabilities, or it's not allowed to possess the capabilities that the resistance thankfully has. So we have a winning card in Lebanon, that's the resistance power meaning, and the deterrence power meaning. The resistance by the tongue of the Secretary General of Hezbollah, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, last week, issued a threat, actually issued two threats. The first threat is towards the company that is working with the Zionist entity, where Sayyid Hassan told this British Greek company, he told them that, look, you are going to be held responsible for any material or human damage that can be incurred because of you stealing our gas.
And the company is Greek here,
threat.
right? This is a Greek company that he issued the threat.
It's a British Greek company, yes. And the same Energen, British Greek company. And then you have the other threat where he issued a threat to the Zionist entity, telling the government of the Zionist entity that we will not allow you to extract gas. How can he not allow them? There's only one way, or actually maybe two, either with a bomber drone or with a missile, underwater missile. So it is, yes, it is a military attack. It's a tactic that would be used to defend what is rightfully Lebanese. And this is the same tactic that was used for 18 years until the full liberation of land in South Lebanon. And it's also the tactic that was used to create an equation of deterrence of power or a balance of power with the Zionist entity, where if they bomb us, they will get bombed equally. And I think this has been, since 2006, a very excellent strategy, because it worked perfectly to protect Lebanon. But at the same time, this is the first that we have witnessed such a conflict between the Lebanese and the side and the Zionist side in the sea, out in the sea. And we are fully we do believe that the resistance is capable, but it would be one of a kind. It'd be something new. So that has its risks as well. So it's not that we doubt that it will work. The issue is we don't know how it will be played out. Will anything that happens at sea get spilled over into land or not? But at the same time, you have the difficulties within the political difficulties inside the Zionist entity, where one more member of Knesset lost, and Naftali Bennett will lose the coalition, and will basically his government will collapse. So they have a very delicate political situation that would not basically help them out to start a war. It would be a very high risk, and it would be catastrophic. We would be seeing, basically, it would be an invitation for Naftali Bennett to bring back Benjamin Netanyahu to head a new government and to go to early elections. So the Israeli side is not really ready, but we also know that there's not a lot of time. So anything that happens between these two sides, these warring sides, will have to happen within the upcoming 3 or 4 weeks.
Marwa, I am also reading the comments and the reactions from the Lebanese, let's say, commentators on social media. And we know Lebanon is bankrupt, right? And they have so much, like the banks are closed, and they declared the state of bankruptcy. So you need this money from the Mediterranean, from the gas revenues, let's say. But what is the guarantee that the Lebanese government or any company that could extract this gas will go to the state budget and not to the budget of the, let's call them what they are, the warlords, right?
Warlords.
I mean, I have also lived in Lebanon, and I know how things work. Every region has its ruler, de facto ruler, and then they have their own electricity, let's say, companies who are distributing electricity in exchange for, like, this is in parallel to the state electricity, you have small
Motor
electricity
generators.
motor generators that they are distributing electricity to the people in exchange for money. And not only that, even water. Like I remember I used to feel,
And we are the richest country in water in the region, by the way.
Yes, I used to fill, for example, $35 worth of water 2 times per month just to take shower or something. So it's a complete very corrupted, let's say, state institutions. So what is the guarantee that this extraction, of course, Lebanon has the right to extract that oil if it's in its borders, right? But at the same time, just my humble opinion is there any guarantee that the oil revenues will go to the state budget, which will improve the welfare of the people? They will go out from this bankruptcy situation, and at least there would be a situation where Lebanon would be financially stable, where also can attract tourists, because Lebanon is the economy of Lebanon is based on services and tourism, basically, and it is dead now. The Lebanese, let's say, who live in the diaspora, they're the ones coming for tourism now in Lebanon, and not the foreigners, right? This is just my basic observation from what I'm seeing.
100% true. I have good news and bad news. Let me start with the good news. The good news is that however this happens, however you may turn this, we have an unprecedented unity in Lebanon now that says that this oil and this gas is Lebanese, and we have a right to obtain it and a right to extract it and sell it and benefit the Lebanese economy. Now, how we benefit the Lebanese economy, here comes the bad news. I just learned yesterday, and I was in shock. I was speechless. Can you believe I was speechless? Look what happened. I was reading something, and I came upon an article that talks, and it's in Arabic, and it specifies how these warlords that you just mentioned, each of them opened an offshore account in Singapore for a new company. For a new company.
Imagine
a
my
company
shock.
that would be, the issue is I was shocked because this has been open for a while now. They have been working on this even before the financial crisis hit us. They've been preparing to steal what's left. They stole everything on land. They want to steal now everything in Lebanese waters. Offshore companies in Singapore with bank accounts there linked to certain companies. I'm not going to name any, but you can do a search and you can know which companies, French ones, and you can know how that's related to what's going on in Lebanon regarding the distribution of petrol and fuel derivatives in Lebanon. And each one of these warlords basically founded his own company that would be linked to the offshore gas field or oil field that is parallel to his area. And I was like, oh my God, what a headache. But at the same time, even if we're going to start like that, because look, everything has an end. Everything will turn around, and if not fixed, it will turn into the hands of other people.
Yes.
It will nothing stays in the hands of one person or one group forever. So even if that's the case, as a Lebanese, it's still acceptable by me if you want to compare it to Israel stealing it. If it's going to come and benefit some of my community members, some of my villages, some of my cities in Lebanon, I'm still okay with it compared to seeing none of it because it's been stolen by Israel. You know what I'm saying? So it's really it's not a dilemma. It's something that's out in the open. It's obvious. But look, I have hope and I have faith. I have hope that the resistance will be able to protect this for Lebanon. And I have faith that the upcoming years in Lebanon, and I mean these years that are linked to how the Lebanese governmental institutions will be run, will be different from what we have been witnessing for the past 34 years. Why do I say this? Because at the end of the day, death is much more stronger than any human being. And death will be taking these, hopefully soon, these warlords. And when I say that, so it's an end of an era. When an end of an era comes, there will be a beginning of a new one. This is how history works. And the beginning of a new one, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, looking down at Lebanon and what's going on in Lebanon, will be a bit different than what we have been used to in Lebanon, because literally we have nowhere else deeper to dig, Gevorg. We have hit rock bottom. There's no other way except upward, but it needs a lot of work. So for this financial crisis to be at least out of our way, but in condition that we start using and extracting the oil and gas, it's going to take us at least 10 to 15 years.
Yes.
So,
but I am happy, Marwa, that you are more optimistic than I am. I give you that credit because you're also underground. I'm detached from that reality. Finally, I'm out, right, from that situation.
Yeah.
And I don't feel what's happening on a daily basis in Lebanon. And as a Syrian, I give my heart to Lebanon. I love Lebanon a lot, and I feel there are so many similarities between the Syrians and the Lebanese than differences. Of course, differences exist.
Oh, stop running in circles. We are one people.
Just,
we are
I'm
one
coming.
people.
I'm
you know
coming
what
there. I'm
saying.
coming. I'm coming there. I'm coming. Just wait. This is the diplomatic maneuvering around the topic. It's coming because for me, a strong Lebanon and liberated Syria, which comes also stronger in the future, we have to work between the people of these two countries, like yourself, myself, and other people who we have at least certain mutual ground in terms of how our vision for our states, right? It should be independent in terms of foreign policy. We should keep the national resources for our people. We should improve the welfare of our people. So I think we should. This strong Lebanon and strong Syria could pave the way also in the future for some sort of federalism. This is when I say federalism, people think it's a joke. It is not. Syria and Lebanon were historically one people. Of course, they were divided, but practically right now, geographical unifications have become more difficult. But there are other ways, like a federal system, for example. Of course, any federalism that leads into unification of two countries or two people on certain levels, it's a plus for us. Any federalism that leads to more division, like these separatists in Syria in northeastern are looking for, it's a setback. It's very easy. So I am for federalism if it means with Lebanon, maybe with Iraq, maybe with Palestine. So it is very important for these countries to start protecting their own national resources, their own wealth, to become strong, and then to seek networking with the regional countries, like the Europeans did. Of course, exactly. The Europeans.
There's where I want to start there, Gevorg. Look at Europe, different languages, different heritage, maybe similar culture, but a lot of differences and very little similarities, and they were able to make a European Union. You say that you dance around the matter. I say, and you know where I'm going here, unity. I don't say federalism. Why do I say this? Because look at the axis of resistance. Anything that happens on a level of military and that kind of coordination, in times of peace, that would have to be reflected economically. And it's not me saying this, it's science. Mm-hmm. When you become a unit, you are allies, yes, but you are a unit. You have a certain target. You have a certain, what you call in military, the joint room, for example, between different factions. Yes. You would easily have a joint room economically. And we've seen this between Iran and Syria in the midst and the heights of the global war against Syria. And we've been testing this in Lebanon as well. If you remember, in the past summer, when Iran sent us 4 to 7 shipments of oil derivatives to Lebanon, when we were literally out of oil and gas for months. So that is just it's a complete cycle. When you start with military, you have to go into other areas and forge agreements and ties and treaties between these countries. I'm for unity. Why am I for unity? I don't think that unity, the way that we used to have it in Bilad al-Sham in the Levant, will be back, but at least we might have economic ties. We might have stronger military ties that would improve the social fabric between these countries. And we have, I think, We're almost there. Why am I saying this? Because if you asked me 5 or 6 years ago about Yemen, I wouldn't have answered. Now I have memorized the map of Yemen. I have friends in Sana'a. I have friends in Aden. I have friends in Hodeidah. We have connected. We talk. We share. We know what goes on in other people's lives, despite the fact that they are thousands of kilometers away. Syria? I'm Syrian, even though I'm a Lebanese. Why am I saying this? Because we cry over the same matter, we laugh over the same matter, we rejoice over the same matter, we have the same cause, we speak the same language, we have the same religion, if you will, even though that we are very diverse, but we have the same culture and heritage, the same history. We speak literally the same background, cultural language. So we get one another, and we have been through hell, especially the past 10 to 11 years. So we get it. And we know how it's important for us to stand together. And look what happened. 11 years, and the West, the Imperial West, decided to break us apart and take Palestine away from us. And look what happened. We became stronger because of the Palestinian cause. We became stronger because we decided that Syria needs to be liberated. Because if we want to be protected in Lebanon, Syria has to be protected. If we want to be safe, Iraq has to be safe. If we want to live free, Palestine has to be liberated. We are back to square one with our causes because of the hardships that we went through. And that would most definitely reflect economically. I mean, look at the Lebanese markets, for example, after the financial crisis, it's all Iranian products, Syrian products, Iraqi products. Now we are sending back our products, especially fruits and vegetables, and selling them back to Iraq and Syria and other places because the Gulf decided to cut us off and Lebanon decided not to buy our products. But look at the size of Lebanon and the size of Iraq, for example. They would take all our vegetables and fruits in a heartbeat. And as you said, Lebanon is based on its tourism because we have a very beautiful climate in Lebanon and a very beautiful country that it's really saddens us to see it in shattered this way. But we always have hope because at the end of the day, if we really didn't have something that's very important, the West, the colonial West, wouldn't be coming here to take it. We know how wealthy we are and we know the worth of our country, which is why we have nothing to lose. We are ready to die to defend it. But at the end of the day, we don't need to talk about death a lot. We do need peace, but peace does not come without liberation and freedom. Hence, liberation and freedom first.
Marwa, I think when we want to go to this direction, it's very important to defeat the American project in the region first of all. And when you defeat the project, the proxies, the clients, call them whatever you want, of the Americans, whether it's in Syria, Iraq, and in Lebanon, they will crumble. And starting from Syria, those who are pro, let's say, the United States in the northeast, and then you have the Turkish Erdogan in the north. So we have also our issues to solve. And then in Lebanon, also you have the people who are more Francophone than they are Lebanese. So
living in a bubble.
Yeah, unfortunately. But it was really great, Marwa, talking to you. It was important to shed light on this issue because I haven't followed it closely, and I was reading some articles. Thank you very much for shedding light on it. I'm sure the followers of Syriana Analysis appreciate your input.
My pleasure. Anytime can work for you and your audience. I'm always here. Anything that happens, I'm going to be here. And if anything in the upcoming weeks happens, look, in the upcoming 15 days, I'm not going to be in Lebanon. I'm going to be leaving my heart in Lebanon. But I am so nervous that something would be worked up and I'm not here because I want to be here for it, not because I'm afraid of it.
Be in a safe place. Be in a safe place.
Even if I'm going to be thousands of miles away, I'm always here for you and for your audience. And thank you for shedding light on this. And you're dearly missed. We miss you a lot.
Thank you very much, Marwa. Guys, I activated a tool on Syriana Analysis called membership. It was for a long time, lots of YouTube channels had it. I never did it, but now I activated it. You can just click on join just below the video if you want to support Syriana Analysis. I will post exclusive content, short commentaries for for the people who join Syriana Analysis as a member or join this membership, let's say there are 3 different kinds of memberships. You don't have to pay the most. You can just choose the, I think, 3.99 euros. And I will post exclusive content, short political commentaries at least 2 times per week. So enjoy and see you next time.